Madam Speaker. This isn't my first International Women's Day debate, but each one of them is a fantastic opportunity to learn about the exceptional women that have made up our history and to be reminded, as I need it, that many of those exceptional women are in this chamber today. My contribution for Norfolk is someone called Elizabeth Fry. I'm particularly proud of her because she also happens to be my 5 times great aunt. But Elizabeth Fry, that's as close as I get to real commitment and fame, I'm afraid. But she was, in the early 19th century, horrified by the conditions of prisons. She visited Newgate Prison, and instead of walking on by, she took action. She funded prison schools for the children who were incarcerated along with their mothers in those days. She taught employment skills. She promoted rehabilitation as a concept, which was new at that stage. And she developed the wider movement for reform. And she, of passing interest, in 1818, she was the first woman ever to give evidence to a House of Commons inquiry. And it's directly because of her campaigning work that we had the Jails Act of 1823 and the Prisons Act of 1835. And that was the beginning of the end of the truly terrible conditions of the 18th century. But we talk now about violence against women and girls, but that's not new, because in her personal diaries, she expressly discussed the need to protect female prisoners from rape and sexual exploitation. Now, much has improved beyond recognition from those days, I recognise that, and we should celebrate it today and elsewhere. But too much does remain the same. Just in the last government, we had offences of stalking, non-fatal strangulation, coercive control, and public sexual harassment. The fact that those new legislations were needed demonstrates the failure of us corporately to change attitudes. And those were conditions which would have been familiar to Elizabeth Fry back in the 1820s. And our work isn't about legislation, because that isn't actually the solution. All that legislation does is deal and treat symptoms. The problem is the generational transfer of attitudes from, I'm sorry to say, typically from father to son. And it's our work to challenge those generational attitudes. I don't often agree with the member for Brent East, but on this I absolutely stand shoulder to shoulder with her.